It is really, I believe, the thing that will save America. It's going to be the people of faith and the people with principles and the people who are willing to stand up for what they believe in. And I see more and more of those people as we travel around. We're in 4 or 5 states every week, blue states, red states, north, south, east, west, and tremendous reactions everywhere because people are waking up. So I'm actually extremely optimistic. What an incredible privilege it was as a physician to be put in charge of the most important thing a person has, their life, or their child's life. And through the grace of God to be able to give that back to them in an enhanced form. Because your life and your health is by far the most important thing you have. If someone gave you a choice of $1 billion, but you had to be quadriplegic, or no dollars and you were whole, I don't think that would be a difficult choice. You begin to realize how very valuable your life and your health is. And I remember as an intern going onto the wards at Johns Hopkins, seeing all these important people, the CEO of this company, the president of this organization, crown prince, queen of this nation, that nation. In many cases dying of some horrible disease. And everyone would have gladly given every penny and every title for a clean bill of health. And you begin to realize how valuable your health is. And that's the reason that I rail so strongly against the so-called Affordable Care Act, because I think the most important thing you have should be in your hands and not in the hands of some faceless bureaucrat. And that is important. And if in fact they can control the most important thing you have, believe me, it's not long after that before they can control everything. So there is method to the madness. And sometimes we have to be suspicious. Can't take everything just because someone said it was true. Disclaimer is, I am not politically correct. So don't be surprised if I say something. Okay? It won't be because I'm a mean person and that I don't care about other people's feelings. It's because I believe in this country. I believe in the founding principles of this country, including freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And a lot of people died so that we could have those rights. And to allow people to come in and muzzle us and tell us what we can say and what we can't say is un-American. As far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't allow it. If you're pro-life, they say you're anti-woman. Now, what kind of sense does that make? You know, when that baby is in the mother's womb, it's in the safest place it can possibly be. That is the closest bond that there is. So you're saying that the people who want to preserve that life are anti-woman? Does that make any sense at all? I mean, almost anything they say doesn't make any sense, but that particularly doesn't make any sense. I used to be intimidated by dogs. I was deathly afraid of dogs. I would be late to school because I'd be almost there and there would be a dog. And I would have to go all the way around the block. And then I'd get there and there'd be another dog. You know, the teacher didn't understand this phobia of mine. But a man told me, I was 8 years old, he said, dogs will not bother you if you're not afraid of them. He said, just ignore them. And no matter how vicious they seem to be, they will not bother you. I said, are you sure about this? And, you know, there happened to be a dog that lived down the street. His name was Rusty. And nobody liked going down there because he was just a vicious dog. I said, I'm going to test this out on Rusty. So I go walking down there. I said, I'm just going to ignore him. And he saw me, and he started licking his chops. And he came running out there, barking and snarling. And I said, this is a mistake. And he ran right up to my leg, sniffed it, turned around, and went back to the porch. The next time I came, he just barked from the porch. The next time, he just looked at me. The next time, he didn't even look at me. It wasn't worth his while because I didn't respond to him. And that's what we need to do with the PC police. Ignore them. Just ignore them. And I must say, as a kid, the thing I really hated was poverty. Some people don't mind it, but I really did. I hated poverty. And I thought maybe I'd been born in the wrong family or something, but I just couldn't stand it. But, you know, my mother was out working extremely hard, 2, 3 jobs at a time, leaving at 5 in the morning, getting back after midnight, making every attempt to stay off of public assistance. Occasionally she accepted some aid, but for the most part she was successful. And the reason was because she was very observant. Even though she only had a 3rd grade education, she noticed that no one she saw go on welfare ever came off of it. And she just didn't want to be dependent. She refused to be a victim. And she never made excuses for herself. And she never felt sorry for herself. And that was a good thing. The problem was she never felt sorry for us either. So, you know, there was never an excuse that she found acceptable. And she always said, do you have a brain? If the answer was yes, then you could have thought your way out of it. And in the long run, I think that was the most important thing she did for myself and my brother. Not accept excuses. And I think that led to both of our success. My brother became a rocket scientist. It is so vitally important. Education is the great divide. It makes the difference what kind of life you have. It doesn't matter what you look like, what your racial background is, what your economic background is. If you get a good education in this country, you can chart your own future. And we need to really make that an important factor once again in our nation. You know, the founders of this nation said that our freedom and our way of life is dependent upon a well-informed and educated populace. And if we ever become other than that, the nature of the country will change. Why did they say that? Because people would be incapable of deciphering what they were hearing. And all you needed would be a slick politician and dishonest media. And away goes the country. They knew what they were talking about. And that's in the process of happening to us right now. But it is not too late to change it. We also believed. We're people of faith. When Alexis de Tocqueville finished his analysis, the end of his 2-volume set, he said, America is great because America is good. And if America ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great. And there is something very profound in that statement. Well, you know, my mother understood why it was important. And, you know, she noticed in the homes that she worked in that they didn't watch a lot of TV and that they did a lot of reading. And she prayed and she asked God to give her the wisdom to know what to do to get her sons to understand the importance of intellectual development. And you know, the wonderful thing about God, you don't have to have a PhD to talk to him. All you have to do is have faith. And she believed that he would give her the wisdom, and he did. At least in her opinion. My brother and I didn't think it was wise at all. I mean, turning off the TV, what kind of wisdom is that? And making us read 2 books apiece from the Detroit Public Libraries every week and submitting to her written book reports, which she couldn't read, but we didn't know that. And she put little check marks and highlights and underlines, and I was outraged. Everybody else was outside having a good time. I was stuck in the house reading books. I said, this is craziness. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could invite all the billions of people in the world into this country to experience all the advantages that we have in this country? That would be wonderful. But we also have to be practical and know that we can't do that. That's why when you get on an airplane and they're giving the instructions for safety, they say in case of an emergency, oxygen masks will drop from the ceiling. Put yours on first and then administer help to others. In this nation, we have millions of people in our inner cities, Appalachia, rural hamlets, in dire poverty, with all kinds of disadvantages. Don't we have an obligation to extend to them a helping hand before we start trying to bring in millions of people from other places? You would think that that would make sense. Our Secretary of Treasury says, you know, those companies that do business overseas because they're trying to avoid these taxes are unpatriotic, and the president joins them in that sentiment. What does that tell you? That tells you they know nothing about capitalism and nothing about business. People don't go into business to support the government. They go into business to make money. And a smart government understands that. And the other thing that is so important is we have to be compassionate. But what is compassion? There are a lot of people who think compassion is taking the poor people in our society and patting them on the head and saying, there, you poor little thing. I'm giving you health care, and I'm giving you food and housing, and you don't have to worry about anything. That is not compassion. That is making people dependent. That is actually the most cruel thing you can possibly do to somebody, creating servitude. That's not necessarily good. We need to get rid of the archaic exportation bans on energy and use that energy to put Putin back in his little box where he belongs. You know, these are the kind of things that we have to start doing. The next time you're singing the national anthem and you get to the end of that first stanza, and it says, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Don't just let those words roll off your tongue, but think about what they mean. It means you cannot be free if you're not brave, because freedom is not free. You have to work for it every day. Thank you.